What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Hump Day Hotline. My name is Joe Miller, and I am the only sane Bills Mafia member left with my co-host, JSpence the King. What's going on, JSpence?
What's going on with you, man?
I
How's everybody doing tonight?
I apologize for the delay in the show start. My settings were wrong, and I was telling Spence I couldn't hear him, and something was wrong with his microphone. And he's like, "My microphone's working."
I'm like, it's not me, I promise.
I was like, we're just going to start the show and see what happens. But welcome everybody into the Hump Day Hotline and the Buffalo Rumblings multicast network. It's so good to have you guys. We are, what is it? 6 days? 6 days from the start of training camp. Bro, it's so close. You can smell the stale beer in the stadium.
Well, I'm just gonna say thank God. Like, like for any other reason, just so we can have football to talk about. Thank God that is 6 days away.
Got a lot of the usual suspects up in here. Richard Russ, Chris Jenke, the real Chris Jenke, EB, NYAP, and the 716. What's up, dude? Good to see you. Robbie's in the room. Eli Padilla's in the room. Daniel Gowers is in the room. Did I miss anybody? I don't think I did, but it's good to see you guys lining up. It's good to have everybody in. And for those of you that are going to watch this after, the several hundred of you that watch this after it airs live, do us a favor. If you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe to the Buffalo Rumblings YouTube channel, as we're trying to get to 1,000 before the season starts, and like this thing so that we can get our metrics up. But it's so good to see you guys. So you've had a crappy day. I've had a crappy day, but you know what? We got the Bills to talk about, and anytime we can talk Buffalo Bills football, excuse me, it's a good day. So this week, what a week it's been. You literally lost your mind.
Like literally.
It was a great rant because somebody called out Cody Ford, which makes no sense. Now the dust is settled. That dude has been blocked by about 1,000 people. Where have you landed on that? And then I'll give my little bitty take.
Well, you know me, like, and I get on here on this show, on my show, when I'm on other shows, I get on and I joke. You know, I think it's okay to call out players in the sense of, hey, he didn't play well. Hey, he did this, or hey, he did that. I think that is absolutely fine to do. Sure. You know, these guys are playing a game that is broadcast around the world. So, I mean, it's out there for us to critique. We see what great players look like. We see what mediocre players look like. So that's okay. I have no problem with that. But when you start attacking people's private, even with the Cole Beasley thing, the private decisions, and I know he's public with it. It's one thing, again,
we'll get there.
I understand the back and forth. Yeah. So I understand the back and forth. But what I'm saying is when it gets to a point where it goes past me saying, yeah, I don't see it that way, I don't agree, and I start attacking someone personally, or I start, pretty much calling for their livelihood to be cut off. That's to me, that's crossing the line. So I'm at that point where it's like when I start seeing that stuff now, and people, a few people call me sensitive because of it. That's fine, but I'm at the point now where I don't want to see the negativity. Like I've been in my life has been in such a great mood and vibe lately. I want to keep it that way. So I'm going to control what I see on my timeline. I'm going to control it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and it's either the people. It's funny because like the comments for that whole post were, you never tag a player if you're going to criticize them. But what's funny is sometimes when you don't tag somebody retweets you and tags it. You know what I mean? Like tags the player, and so it's almost this like self-defeating thing. You have to be measured in anything that you're going to say. Nobody wants, and I think the hard part for me was like in his profile, he talked about like, I'm the nicest guy on Twitter. I'm the nicest guy in Bills Mafia on Twitter. And it's like, bro, like, I'm not so sure, because that was just kind of straight hate. I don't know that Cody Ford has done anything necessarily to deserve a comment like that he is, the greatest disappointment of the Bean era. I don't think we're anywhere near close to that. If anything, I hope that it fuels Cody Ford's fire a little bit, right? I hope it lights a fire underneath him and he feels like, he's going to use that as motivation. We know these guys use stuff like that for motivation, but it definitely was, I don't know. I loved your rant. So I jumped into your show a little bit late and people were like, you missed JSpence's rant, bro. So I like literally rewound the show and then watched it while you were live still, and then skipped back forward again.
Well, you know what? What happened was, so Monday, I didn't even, I wasn't really on Twitter that much because, I'm back in the office. So like work, I'm not at home anymore. So it changes my entire day. Yeah. So Monday, I wasn't even really active on Twitter. I didn't see it. I get off work and I'm on my way home and I'm talking to somebody from Buffalo, and they're like, "Yo, did you see this?" And I'm like, "What?" And so they're like, "I'm gonna send it to you. Call me back." So they sent it to me, and I'm telling you, like, I just saw red because it's one of those things where it's like, it's again, I make jokes and I talk about like Baker Mayfield. It's like I know in Buffalo, everybody knows Spence don't like Baker.
Right.
I don't like Baker as a football player. I don't dislike Baker as a human being, and I don't say he should be cut or fired from the team, or I don't say, I don't make things about him as a person. I'll make jokes about his game.
Right.
But you just cross the line, and as fans, the part that really gets me is especially when we do it to our own. You call yourself, and that was what the part that was posted to Twitter basically said, like, you call yourself a fan. Like, this is the team that you are supporting. You're paying money to go see. You're watching every single Sunday on when it comes on, or Monday nights now, because we definitely got primetime games, 5 of them this year, probably going to be 7. But we got a lot of, so we're there.
Right.
But as a fan, you still think that it's cool. I don't see how that's cool in any way. Not even just for the players though. At some point, we all have to just like, when are we gonna like stop killing each other? Like, like Bills Mafia has been warring with each other for the past. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Peak off season, right? Like, it's always darkest before the dawn, and that just very much kind of seems like where we are right now. That's why my handle says the only sane Bills Mafia member, or at least I am a sane Bills Mafia member. The Cole Beasley thing, and you and I have done a very good job of just kind of steering clear. We haven't talked about it a whole lot, and obviously you and I are very much on the same page as far as like what the original context of the conversation was, and then what Cole was saying, and we wish he hadn't said it. And there's a great deal of, you and I both feel that it's his personal choice, but there are regards to helping the team to go get vaccinated. I had to correct people this week. It was Tuesday. I was correcting people on Twitter because people still don't understand that those protocols are only in place until the end of preseason. So once preseason's over, as of right now, there are no COVID protocols for any players, vaccinated or not. The problem is the dude needs to stop tweeting. Somebody needs to get he's Donald Trump at this point. Like, somebody needs to grab his phone and take it away from him, because like he's even tweeting out. I don't know if you saw it yesterday. He tweeted out, or this morning, at some point in the last 24 hours, he tweeted out that a vaccinated member of the Bills team came down with COVID and got sent home. And that stuff just can't get out of the locker room. Like, that's the stuff that has to stay inside. And I'm not saying I've wholly moved on from this notion of there's no way that Cole Beasley could possibly be cut, because I was in the camp of he's not getting cut. So you guys can just stop having that conversation. He's not getting cut. And we talked to Stirls, and I talked about that a little bit last week. But when you start leaking that kind of information out into the public and into Twitter, you're kind of leaning over on the chopping block, right? You're sticking your head out there a little bit. Like, it gets a little bit, I don't know if you saw that, but it gets a little bit, just stop. Please stop. So I don't know if you got thoughts on that one, or if you saw it.
No, well, I saw it, and I guess to an extent I agree with you. Like, stop tweeting, Cole. But then at the same time, it's one of those things where it's just like, look, we all do the same thing, except like, we're not millionaires who play football for our favorite team.
Right.
So it's like, because I haven't done it recently, of course. Like, I try my hardest not to speak politics or anything, but there's been plenty of times that I've given my opinion on something just because it's my opinion and I can share it on my Twitter, but because I don't have 80,000 followers and I don't have, that type of, so I think the difference is because Cole, his words seem to reach so many people, and so many people have opinions. It goes from it just being a regular guy having an opinion to it like, oh, it makes the news.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I feel for those guys in a way, but, and I said on the pod Monday, I don't agree with his personal decision. I'm vaccinated. I know a lot of people who are, I know a lot of people who aren't. So, but with that being said, like, I can disagree with a personal decision and still love you. Like, I have no, like, you and I as friends, like, you're my bestie. We talk, right. We don't joke when we call each other that. Like, that's not just for the Hump Day Hotline. That's not just when he's on the code of conduct. Or not. Joe is really my guy. Like, I've slept at this man's house. Like, that's
different bedroom.
Yeah, different bedroom. But I'm saying, like, I love Joe. Like, this isn't a game. Joe and I have disagreed on certain things. But guess what? I don't hate him because he sees, he looks outside and he sees that it's blue out, like the sky is blue. And I'm like, no, man, it's about to rain. It's gray. Yeah. I don't hate him because we disagree. And I don't understand how that's happening for our family in Bills Mafia.
Well, the word that you're missing is respect. The reason that you and I disagree, and why people like and tune into our show, is because we do disagree. Not a lot, but at times we take. The funny thing is like there's so many shows on television and sports shows, whether it's Good Morning Football or Pardon My Take or whatever they are, where literally they pre-program them for somebody to be the devil's advocate, for somebody to take the opposite side, just so that they can have that banter. You and I just kind of naturally do that. We don't like, okay, what side are you taking today? Are you taking the Dolphin side or are you taking the Bill side? Like you and I don't do that.
Right.
We just have conversations, but there's a respect there. You and I both respect each other. It just seems like what's lacking in a lot of this Twitter banter, and it's true because there's no repercussion, there's no accountability. People can get on Twitter, say whatever they want, get blown up, cancel their Twitter account, and then start a new one tomorrow. There's literally no and then the funny thing was that dude, getting back to Cody Ford, was like, well, I told him to his face. And it's like, no, you didn't.
No,
you told him on Twitter.
No, you didn't. And that's the thing, man. It's like all this it's just it's a whole bunch of aggressive energy that you would not have in person.
Exactly.
And I said that even like again Monday, I said, because I even brought me, you, Bruce, a few others up. Like there's been I'm not like I don't. It is a big deal for me personally that I'm verified.
Right.
It was an accomplishment for me. I'm proud of that. I believe it was an accomplishment for you. I think you're proud of it.
I wasn't expecting it. Yeah, for sure.
Right. And I wasn't either. Like when it came through, I'm like, oh, holy, wow. But the thing is, since that has happened, a lot of people now choose, like everything I say is a challenge. Everything I say is an argument. So instead of it being, hey, I'm here to talk to other Bills fans because I love the Bills, instead of it being that, now it's me defending my opinion on stuff when all I really want to do is just have fun with Bills Mafia.
Yeah.
And it's just it's discouraging that there are people who wake up and decide, I want to just be miserable and say something miserable to somebody else that's in a very good mood just to ruin even if it's 30 seconds. I just want to ruin their minute. I just don't understand how people wake up like that. That bothers me.
Yeah, for sure. And Chris Jenke says, and I'm just going to touch the first part, Cole's probably speaking for a percentage of players, but I don't know what he has to say anymore. And he said that. He said, I literally, and this was the first set of like tornado tweets, furious tweets, was he said, I can speak up because I don't need the money. I've earned the money already. And at this point, I'm playing for fun. So if they cut me, I don't care. If I never play I play because I love it and I want to play. But if they cut me, my life isn't going to be over. He said there's a lot of guys in the league that can't speak up and speak up against the NFLPA. And oh, by the way, this isn't new. Stephon Diggs last year, before we knew whether or not there was going to be a season, when they were marching towards having a training camp or some semblance of training camp, Diggs, if you remember, was on Twitter going, I don't think they're thinking they have the player's best interest in mind. Like he literally tweeted something to that effect. Stephon Diggs tweeted, I'm something to the effect of, paraphrasing, I don't think the NFLPA has the player's best interest in mind, which that's loud. I brought Matt Perino on my show, the Overreaction Pod, for him to kind of clear that up. Like, what is going on and why is Stephon mad? Because at that point we were all kind of in the dark. It's like, we don't know what's going on. People like cooler heads just need to prevail. And that includes Cole. We need to find out. And I said this, I think on Sunday, they're going to walk back the protocols. The question is how far. There's no way that they're not going to test. There's no way that they're not going to have some protocols and some restrictions. It's not going to look like 2020. But until we find out what they are, everybody just needs to just chill. Like everybody just needs to relax and just take a break and be excited about the fact that we get to pour into that stadium and watch our favorite football team play football, to include the best slot receiver in the NFL, which I don't know if you were akin to that, but I had to like argue with somebody on Twitter last week who told me that Tanner Gentry and Isaiah McKenzie could make up for all of Cole Beasley's production. And it's just like you can put those two guys together and they're not Cole Beasley, bro. I'm sorry.
I love Isaiah McKenzie.
You do. It's the truth. You do.
Like I really hope people can feel how much I know it kind of last season he was my guy, but it kind of steered more towards Andre. And so there was a lot of times people would ask me, well, if you had to pick one, so it made it look like I wasn't a McKenzie fan. When I tell you guys, Joe knows this, I love Isaiah McKenzie.
Yep.
So, Isaiah McKenzie came out and said, yo, Cole is a cold dude in that slot. So like, you gotta pay respect to the fact that Cole has earned the title as the best or second best slot receiver in the league. You can't just, I get it. We want to, now some people are mad about his political views or his personal choices. And I saw somebody verified yesterday in Buffalo, and not in the podcast realm. I mean, somebody who is a journalist actually say the Bills need to consider cutting or trading Cole Beasley.
Oh yeah, I saw that too. What's
and
funny?
That it's like, what in the heck is going on?
And I don't want to cast judgment, and in the sense of like I don't want to put anything on somebody, but if you consider Cole Beasley, who he is, his family, who he's married to, the type, just the way he is, you can't just come out and be like I want to use the example of Richie Incognito. You knew Richie Incognito was a conservative and a Trumper, you know, right? Like you knew it. This isn't about politics for Cole. I don't think you can just say, oh, he must be a Trumper, so he's not going to take the vax. There's a good chance he's a Democrat. Right? I mean, you don't know. He's never said anything about his politics. It has also leaked out, come out, whatever you want to say, and we can move on after this, that last year when he was playing on a broken leg, he was not taking pain meds. So this thing of him not wanting to put stuff in his body that's artificial chemicals, whatever it is something that he has basically a track record that he has had. So he played on that leg in pain.
But that's why I'm saying this. That's why I'm saying on my shows Monday, I made it very clear, like, hey, my personal opinion is that I disagree. My personal opinion is that the vaccination protects you.
Right.
That's my personal opinion.
Agreed.
I don't go out and blast that. I don't make it a point to tweet that every person that I know on my timeline that says, oh, I'm not getting that vaccine. I don't go on there to make it a point to say, hey, you're going to die, or because that's not how I feel. I just feel like it protects me.
Right.
So I'm not gonna disrespect. So for Cole to have an opinion, to me, that's all it is. Like, in all honesty, Joe, I love every single member of this team, but I understand that I do not know these guys personally.
Sure.
So the way that they affect my life on a day-to-day basis is the joy they bring me, or the heartbreak they bring me, or the stress they bring me during the season. That's how they affect me. They don't affect me if they get a vaccine or not. Cole doesn't affect me if he doesn't take pain meds for his leg injury, but he's been consistent. He's been 100% consistent with everything that he's been doing. Like you said, he hasn't wanted to take any of those pain meds. He hasn't wanted to do the vaccine. He speaks openly, always. He's never been one of those dudes that like don't speak how he feels. So I don't know why everybody is acting like this is new from Cole. Like, this is Cole.
Yeah, that's who he is. So yeah, for sure. And it'll all straighten itself out. And you got to wonder if the team is, if they lightly tapped him before, hey, could you not? And now Josh has probably texted him and been like, dude, bro, like, stop. It's
I don't know though. When you look at it, like one of his not this last one, but like last week or the week before, he had a lot of support from his teammates. There was a lot of guys retweeting, a lot of guys co-signing.
Feliciano, I saw it. Yeah. There's a couple of them that did. Yeah, for sure.
So I mean,
it's more about the leak of the news. It's the leak of there was a player who, who's gotten vaccinated, who now has COVID, who was sent home yesterday. That to me is where the line is. I'm not so necessarily sure. It's not like he was out there telling people they shouldn't get vaccinated. That isn't what he was saying. He said, I'm not getting vaccinated. Like, you guys, I don't remember him saying anybody shouldn't, but regardless, we can move on. I just would love for cooler heads to prevail. And the reality is next Tuesday when they report to training camp, it's going to be all rainbows and butterflies and hugs for the Buffalo Bills. Like, we're all going to snap right back into form because the offseason will. Dude, I call July the dark month for a reason. You've heard me say it. Like, July is the darkest month of the NFL season. Like, and it is. It's bad, absolutely. Bro. So what are we doing tonight? So that's just the how you doing. What are we talking about this evening?
Well, we're gonna touch on some of, I guess, I don't know how many we really will have. I know what is perceived out there.
I've got,
but 6. We're gonna talk about position. You have 6. I have 3 real ones.
I've got 6.
In my mind, I feel like 3. So we'll start with you because you have more. So, but we're gonna go with the positional battles that we feel, who's gonna be competing to win their job this year. Like, we know Josh is the quarterback. We know that. We know Stephon Diggs is wide receiver 1. We know that.
Yes.
Who so there we have a few positions on this team. Joe thinks 6. So we're gonna hear who Joe, or what positions, and then we're gonna go through that. So I need y'all to chat it up tonight. I'm low on energy. I'm going to be honest with y'all. It was a rough day for me, like a really, really rough day. And I believe Joe had a similar day.
Yeah.
So we're going to need that interaction tonight. And actually, I do want to pull up one comment first, because I was talking about how much I love Isaiah and Andre. And EB said, your true love is Edmonds, and you know it. This is the thing. I love all my guys, and I fight for my guys. Joe would tell you last summer, when I was a part of Buffalo Fanatics prior to joining Buffalo Rumblings. We were a part of Buffalo Fanatics prior to joining Buffalo Rumblings, and they have like a group chat for all the members, the podcasters, and I think the writers are separate, right? Or were they in there too?
The who? The writers?
No, they were in there.
Yeah. Everybody was in there.
Okay, so in this chat, fun chat, we're all, always bouncing stuff off each other, joking, laughing, having debates. It's a really good time. I actually missed that chat, but the thing is, they kind of had this question last year, like, you wouldn't trade. You know what? It was the post about Josh Allen, Tremaine Edmonds, and Trey White for Patrick Mahomes.
For Mahomes, right?
And before last season, I said, hell no, I would never make that trade. And everybody's like, you wouldn't trade these guys for the MVP, and you wouldn't trade it for Patrick. And I'm like, no, I'm a homegrown kind of guy.
Right.
Since day one, last summer, Joe would tell you, I got receipts. I would never trade away Tremaine Edmonds, would never trade away Tre'Davious White or Josh Allen for anybody in the league. Anybody. Especially now that fast forward a year later, Josh is Josh? Hell no.
Well, to add context to that chat, and I hate to call him out because he's not here to defend himself, but Judge said he would at that point in time take Trevor Lawrence over Josh Allen.
That is what he said.
Amongst a host of other players as well. So it wasn't just Mahomes, but it was a bunch. But yeah, at this point, it's a little bit different. So for me, as far as the positional battles, and Chris Janke, I don't know what is going on in your mind, bro, but like I used to have a mind this good, but I don't have a mind this, and I don't know if it's, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's getting old, but he remembers all the positional numbers for the 53 since 17. I don't know if that's because it's consistent. Like, I don't know if it's because McDermott always keeps 6 wide receivers. He always keeps, 3 running backs, but that's pretty impressive. Oh, what's up, Apex? Good to see you, buddy. But I accidentally clicked on that. No worries. Welcome everybody to the show. So from a positional standpoint, I have 6 that are of interest to me. And the funny thing is a couple of them are a little bit blurry because they're clearly the offensive line and the defensive line. Particularly offensive line as it pertains to who's going to be the backup guard, Forrest Lamp versus Ike Butker. You could also throw in there this swing tackle thing. There's a conversation about the swing tackle. Ryan Bates can play every position on the offensive line. They've got him slotted right now as the center, but he literally, could play tackle, but obviously with Spencer Brown. They've got Doyle out there, and then I think who was the swing tackle? It was Bates, right? Bates was the swing tackle last year.
Yep.
So those are like undercurrent comments and conversations that we're gonna have to find out. Defensive line is the same way though. We get a lot of guys that the defensive line right now is deep, and there's guys on the bubble that I don't like the names of, like F.A. Obata, because that kid I'm excited about, regardless of like the post that he put out on Twitter yesterday of him doing those crazy exercises. This is a long kid. He's strong. Like, he's worked his way in. He's grinded to get there. He had a good year last year. Like,
see, I think he would have to crap the bed completely to not make this team. I think he makes the team.
Yeah, and it wasn't Secchi last year. It was a swing tackle. But there's a fight this year for the swing tackle, and they're not just going to give it to Spencer Brown. By the way, this is my mom. What's up, Mom? So,
hi, Mom. Shout out to Mom.
Shout out to all the moms. Too? I haven't seen her yet. Shout out to all the moms in the world. My whole family shows up into this thing, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's dope, man.
But so let's start here. So I don't know if you've got either of those positions, defensive line, offensive line, in yours.
I did have defensive line. I didn't have offensive line because I kind of think that we're set.
Then we can work to there. But let's do this. We definitely need and want comments from the comment section from the people watching tonight. Be a part of this conversation. So the first one for me that I'm probably most intrigued in, because we've had a lot of conversation about not running the ball more, but being more efficient. And that conversation is about Zach Moss, Devin Singletary, Matt Breida. And I'm going to throw Carlos Williams in there because that dude, the last game of the season, played like he wanted to play football. Which, let's be honest, there's a lot of times when we watch guys play, they don't always look like they want to play like every down, if you know what I'm saying. Not that they take plays off, but Carlos ran like he was on a mission last year, like to prove a point. So that to me is the first battle. And one of the things that I would say about Zach Moss, just because I've stood next to him, he's not 5'9" or whatever they say he is, 5'10". He's almost as tall as I am, and I'm every bit of 6 feet tall, which you can confirm because you've stood next to me and hugged me. So
You say that so often, and I just do not understand why the 2-inch difference is so important.
because people talk about him being an undersized running back. To me, that's a big deal. That 2 inches, putting a running back from 5'9" to 5'11" is a big deal in the NFL for me. Like, that's a bigger running back. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's why I was asking, because I honestly, I never like you mentioned it often, and I just never understood why. So thank you for explaining it.
Yeah, you know me that I'm more in the Devin Singletary camp than the Zach Moss camp, but this should tell you that I don't like it when people say, "Well, he's just another undersized running back." Like, I have a problem with that because I don't believe that he is. I think he brings more to the table than just being an undersized running back. But I'll let you open the floor on that one. Zach Moss, Devin Singletary, Matt Breida, and I'll throw Carlos Williams in there. In my opinion, any one of these guys could come out on top. Carlos Williams,
not Carlos,
or Antonio. Yeah, Antonio. Yeah, not Special K.
We can get him back. We can get Special K back. I'll shoot him a text, see what he want to do. I need him to try out.
He was in town. There was a rumor that he did try out for the team. There was a rumor that he did, but I don't know whether
he didn't. He was there for other reasons. He did try it.
Right,
but I would love to see him back. Like, really. I think that he has his head on his shoulders but that's not what we're talking about. So we'll move on from Carlos. But the thing is, as much as I love, I like Devin as well. I think Devin, I agree with you that he's more than just whatever people try to say he is. The thing is, I really like Zach Moss. And I think the team really likes Zach Moss. I think Sean McDermott really trusts him.
Why?
And I think,
what is it?
I think Zach is the type of back that Sean McDermott, like, I just feel like the type of scheme that he wants Brian Daboll to run with the running game, it's Zach Moss. And I think Devin, I think Devin can succeed in multiple ways, but I just don't think the way they're going to run this offense I don't think it's going to help Devin.
Yeah. Well, first things first, Antonio. I've got to get this corrected. Like, I keep using the wrong names for people, and it's just something that, like, I didn't do this last year. So I don't know what's going on with my brain. Maybe I need to take some special vitamins or something. But
Daniel says people forget Singletary had a really good rookie year. I don't think people forget it. Well, I don't think people forget it. I think that, recency bias, the last time we saw, last time we saw him, he was benched. So the last time we saw Devin Singletary, Sean McDermott pulled him in the AFC Championship game.
But that's what's funny is that when you talk about trust, because Zach Moss is the only running back we have on this roster that fumbled in the end zone and got benched. And that to me speaks volumes. But the wild horse in this thing, as much as everybody thinks it's Matt Breida, and this goes back to when we signed Matt Breida. I think I had Pat Moran on my show. There was all these conversations about running back. What are we going to do? How are we going to become more efficient? Yada, yada, yada. And then the Bills signed Matt Breida, and all the content creators in unison went, check, solve the problem. But nobody was calling for Matt Breida before we signed him. And I posed that question to Pat Moran, which was funny. And he was like, I don't get it either. Antonio Williams is the dark horse in this conversation because he's a bigger guy. He's got a high motor. He's got a lot of energy. I think he's got good vision from what we saw in the one outing we saw from him. So preseason this year is going to be big for him. But that first year, second year jump, there might be a jump there that could put him in front of Breida and Singletary. Where are you at on Antonio?
I think Antonio makes a team, and and I know we're not doing the.
Then one of these guys got to go, and we're not even talking about Tywan Jones. Tywan Jones is still in the mix for special teams.
No, I mean, he's making the roster as a special teams player. I don't put him in the conversation. Like he's on the roster. Like he has a 53. But as far as the running backs, honest to God, I think what's going to happen is basically like a Sammy Watkins situation where we really build up. Sorry. I feel like we're going to build up the trade value for Devin Singletary. And I think he's going to be gone by the time the season starts. I think that Matt Breida is going to be your third running back on this team. He's going to be used in a capacity like really like an Isaiah McKenzie. Like he's going to be that jet sweep. He's going to be quick. He's going to catch passes out the backfield. Williams can do the same thing. Williams can also play special teams. I actually see Apex just said the same thing there.
Yep.
Look, honest to God, and it's not that Devin can't play. It's not that Devin isn't good, and it's not that I don't want Devin. I think Devin. I would love if Devin really showed up this year and was like, "No, I'm gonna show y'all that like I'm that dude, and I'm gonna shut y'all up." Yeah. I would love to see that, just based off of what we've seen, based off of the rumblings that no pun intended, but the rumblings that I've been hearing as well, I really think that the trade value is trying to be built into Devin Singletary, so that way we can see what we have in Antonio, but also utilize, this year is the year of Josh. I know last year seemed like it was the year of Josh because he threw for 4,500 yards and blah, blah, blah. This is the year of Josh, and that's there are a few teams around, not just the Rams. So I think that's
Cam Akers just went down with a torn Achilles. Yeah.
Yep. So, that's how I see it. And I know Rich just said he thinks trading Motor would be a mistake. I mean, I don't know why. If you can get a fourth round draft pick for him back, I don't think that's a mistake. I think Brandon Beane to this point has proven that he typically hits more than he misses with the draft. So you get something back for a guy because Motor, look, man, the last 10 years, you look at the production that you normally get from a running back drafted in the third round. Mm-hmm. Devin Singletary just hasn't given us that. And I'm not being impatient with him. I'm the guy that's like, no, let the man develop. Just like we want Josh to develop. It took Josh 3 years to be Josh. Give Devin 3 years. I get that. But it's the NFL. And you're drafting guys every year in the second, third, fourth round that come out and just blow it up for their teams.
That's right.
You're drafting guys every single year. So if Devin Singletary had 2 years to do that, what I'm saying is he's not a bad player.
Yeah.
But if you can get a fifth round draft pick for him, and then you can really have a good running back by committee, I don't think it'd be much of a mistake. Honestly.
Yeah, there was so EBS.
Jamie's here.
Yeah, I was just going to pull that up. Spence is calling for Jamie. What sort of comps? For me, he's an RB2. He's not an RB1. So if he's getting anything, it's going to be a 5th or 6th round pick, which Brandon Beane has struck gold in. So that's not a bad haul for that young guy, which is interesting. But somebody said earlier in the chat in the comments that they felt Zach and Devin were making the team, and the last spot was going to be a battle between Matt and Antonio. I don't disagree with that. I don't know what Antonio's speed is. I think that's the big thing, and Matt Breida, I think, is a kick return or punt return history. One of the two, right?
Punt.
Yeah, he's got one of the two. And the Bills are in a precarious situation because they don't have a guy to do both. For some reason, they let your boy leave. They let Andre Roberts leave. Got myself that time. They let Andre Roberts go, who was able to do both, take up one roster spot. Now they're in a situation where it's like, well, we've got to figure out a punt returner and a kick returner because nobody on this team has done both, or at least done both well consistently. It's going to be an interesting battle. It makes most sense to me for them to move one of those guys. I would say that. I don't like the idea of moving Moss, Singletary, or Williams, but I don't like the idea of Matt Breida not being on this roster either. So I don't know where I'm at. I'm torn. It's going to be an interesting battle, and they're going to let him play it out, right?
Yeah, and I do just want to address Chris really quickly too, because Chris says Taiwan Jones is in his early 30s, so I don't necessarily consider him a lock. I completely 1,000,000,000,000% disagree with you respectfully, Chris. Taiwan Jones being in his 30s has nothing to, it's not. So normally we look at running backs and we say, oh, they hit a cliff when they hit 29 or 30. Like, you don't re-sign them, you don't give them contracts. His position, what he does is not. You won't ever see him really getting a handoff unless the Bills are up by it's the Miami game. Like when we were up and it was just like, all right, just put everybody in. Let me put my nephew in. Let him get a touchdown too. Like, that's when you'll see him actually getting handoffs. That guy, Taiwan Jones, is 1,000% a special teams player. He is probably, if he's not the best special teams player, he's the second.
Matakevich is probably the best,
right?
On the team.
And that's why I rolled it back to second. But the reason why we signed him is because he's a specialist and he does very, very well on special teams. We have Saron Neal; he does a great job on special teams too. So we do great things in special teams, but it's because of those type of guys. He is a lock. I promise you, he's a lock for this roster. I will put my check on it.
Even though he busted the record for the Buffalo Bills on most targeted.
Yeah, they dropped it.
Ball hit him in the freaking hands. Josh shouldn't have thrown it to him in the hands. Are we ready to move on? Because do you want to go next, or do you want me to pick? Do you want me to just kind of lead?
No, just keep going. Yeah, keep going.
My guess is your 3 or 4 are in my list. I think what we should talk about next, just because we're kind of leaning that direction, is stick with the special teams area and talk about this kick returner, punt returner thing, because we've got McKenzie, Stevenson, Brandon Powell, who the Bills just signed, and I think he has punt returner and kick returner experience. Lance Lenore has a lot of college experience, kick returning and punt returning. No NFL experience. Actually has not played a snap in the last 2 years. And then obviously Matt Breida. This is going to be, if you want to talk about the ability to sit back, we love the ebbs and flows of football. So I'm going to paint a picture for you. We all love the ebbs and flows of football. We love the pressure and the stress, and for a long time it was Josh Allen dropping back to pass. And I would say this, and I said this on my show 2 years ago, when I sat on the edge of my seat in 2019 about Josh Allen, I was more concerned about him completing the pass than anything else, because the narrative on him was he had a poor completion percentage. Like, I just wanted to see him complete the pass. So that was my nerves. Completely wiped away in 2020. In 2020, I knew every time he dropped back to pass, especially if it was third and long, the dude was open and he was going to hit him, and it was going to be a completed pass. It's funny how that goes. There's other times where it's fun, specifically in preseason, to watch things because it doesn't matter, which means that if they roll somebody out there, which, by the way, we're also not talking about Christian Wade either in this scenario.
Please don't. I saw the comment. Please.
Yeah, but I didn't, but I knew that it was going to come up. But there's nothing to lose. So this is going to be a fun battle in preseason. We get 3 games where who knows what they're going to do. I don't know that they're going to say, McKenzie, you get the first half. Stevenson, you get the second half. The next game, Brandon Powell, first half. Lance Lenore. They could go literally kick, punt, whatever it is, and just truck different guys out there every single time, just to see in a scattered fashion who does what. And we get to sit there and watch it and enjoy it, because there's no loss. If a guy fumbles, it don't matter. If the guy rips one for a touchdown, we may have found a guy. Like, this is going to be a fun battle. But literally, McKenzie, Stevenson, Brandon Powell, and I didn't include, obviously, Christian Wade. I didn't include Micah Hyde. There's guys on this team that I didn't include. This seems to me the guys, the group of guys. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, and I honestly, I think Isaiah wins it. I think McKenzie wins it, and I just think the team values him in a way that it's going to be difficult for anybody to just, even though we drafted, somebody who we felt like had these skills, they're not going to give him the job. And I just think Isaiah is so valuable. He's so valuable to the team. So I'm going there, but it's an interesting conversation. It's absolutely interesting because, like you said, you just mentioned 5 guys really who could return, be in this battle for it. I think this is going to be the most watched.
Then I missed Tanner Gentry. Apparently,
you think Tanner's making the team?
No, somebody in the chat said that Tanner Gentry, Chris Jenke said Tanner Gentry has experience with returning as well.
Yeah, I just don't think he makes the team, so I don't even consider him part of a battle.
How far this team has come. Where, it wasn't long ago where we were excited to see EJ versus Cardale versus Tyrod. You know what I mean? Like, we were excited to see the quarterback battles. Who's going to come out on top? Quarterback battle. This team has come so far in 3 years that now we're excited to see who wins the kick return battle. That's wild.
Yeah, no, it's wild. It's wild just right because the roster is so much better. But then it's also wild because it's like, wait, we're gonna cut who? We're gonna, because again, like, we're talking about Tanner, and I'm like, I don't think he makes the team. And here's like just here are 8 names: Diggs, Beasley, Sanders.
We're going to wide receivers next. Yeah.
Okay, McKenzie, Stevenson, Gentry. Everybody's favorite, Duke Williams. And you mentioned Lance. I just don't see Lance or Tanner making this team.
Yeah.
Really, I don't see Duke making the team.
Duke is not making this football team. And that's gonna suck, because as much as you've heard me do it 100 times. Everybody in this chat are regulars. They've heard me do it. As much as I have lambasted, smacked Bills Mafia for being an underdog, having the underdog mentality and always rooting for the underdog, always wanting Frank Reich over Jim Kelly type stuff. John DeGiorgio, the small guy that's the scrapper, and he has the Buffalo blue collar mentality. Duke Williams, I like Duke. I secretly, quietly have rooted for Duke Williams. So it's going to be difficult to see him go. But this is where we're rolling. So I think it will be McKenzie, is what Eli says. And he agrees with you. So Marquez will be on the practice squad. I'm not fearful of Marquez being on the practice squad. But if we're going to transition now to wide receivers, we're getting there. Not my best friend. I'm just rooting for the kid. I like the kid. If we're gonna go to wide receivers, though, it's about that depth position. So who are your locks? Give me your locks at wide receiver. And McKenzie cannot be one of them. So don't give me McKenzie. Who are your locks at wide receiver? It's obvious, but say them.
Okay, my locks are Diggs, Beasley, Sanders, Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Those are locks.
Those are your locks, which means you've traditionally, to Chris's point, as it pertains to the Buffalo Bills and Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, they're going to keep 6. You've got McKenzie, Hodgins, Stevenson. One of those guys is
still here. Like
touchdown Jesus is probably going to the practice squad. If he's
I don't think he'll make it, but I'm saying like I'm looking at the depth chart. Like it's insane, man. Like and I know he just said I didn't mention your friend. Look, Isaiah Hodgins made some noise last year. And from everything that I hear, he, the limited time that the team got to see him this year, he looks like he's refreshed. He looks like he's quick. He looks like he's doing everything that the team asked him to do. And he actually took a step forward, even with the injury last year, from what I'm hearing.
Right.
So, it just makes it very, very difficult to imagine. Like Brandon Powell will have to really just blow it up with the return game to make this roster.
He's only making it as a return specialist.
That's it. Tanner Gentry, I know he played with Josh in college, and I know they got some, I get that. He will have to literally blow it up, and Josh will have to go to bat for him. Like, no, that's my guy. I need to keep him on the team.
For sure.
Like, and then on top of it, I just feel like if that's the case, the team is going to end up having to keep 8. Like, it's not something that they've normally done, but there's no way. Okay, Diggs, Beasley, Sanders, Davis, McKenzie, Hodgins.
It seems likely with McKenzie being that specialist. And this is what's crazy. The best, they're not the top 2 or 3 wide receivers in the NFL, but they're definitely the top 4. So when you look at top 3, you've got to give it to the Bucs. There's some teams out there that you've got to give it to, but they're arguably the best the top 4 wide receivers between Diggs, Beasley, Sanders, and Davis.
Right.
Somehow they've got freaking 12 wide receivers in that room for preseason. 12.
I mean, and it's not like they don't have like 12 bums. Like,
no,
like he said it perfectly right. We are 12 deep. Like, these guys are there's 3 guys that are going to get cut that are going to make another roster and score touchdowns this season.
And play. Yeah, they're going to be 3rd or 4th guys on the field for sure. And that's what I feel about Hodgins this year. I don't think Hodgins is going to be a regular. He's going to be in a 4 or 5 wide set. He's going to be the 4th or 5th guy in the field. Like, it's not a situation where, Hodgins is going to get significant playing time this season. Hodgins, to me, is that guy, if he's a slot guy, that's going to replace Beasley when his contract is up. It just kind of depends, right? And obviously Sanders isn't a spring chicken. And that's why, to me, when we had the Joe Marino podcast, which was the Edmonds relatable thing, what's up, John Fina? Welcome into the program, my guy. They are hard choices, but to me, that there's an aspect of it. If Hodgins works out, the gold that they strike by getting Hodgins, because they don't have to waste, I'm going to use the word waste, high draft capital, finding another wide receiver. That's just the genius of Brandon Beane at that point in time. But you're talking about a kid that was ranked. He was slated to go 3rd to 5th round, went 6th. He was slated by some people to go above Gabriel Davis. All the noise in camp last year. Yes, that is the real John Fina, by the way, Chris Jenke. That is real John Fina. By the way, I do need to say this. So the Off Tackle with John Fina show is returning for the 2021 season. What John and I are trying to figure out is, are we going to go quarterly again or weekly? So there's a good chance we might actually go weekly on YouTube Live. So be looking for that. It's going to be fun. And it won't be me interviewing John. It'll be more of a conversation like Spence and I are having. So it'll be a lot of fun. So, oops, I didn't mean to click that. My bad. I don't know if you clicked it or I clicked it. But Hodgins is going to be an interesting player. So that battle at wide receiver is going to be fun too. But I'll traditionally say that traditionally we have had a lot of fun wide receiver battles as Buffalo Bills fans in preseason. Would you agree with that?
I would, absolutely, 100%. But this is going to be different this year. Like everything we've ever experienced, we've been excited for all these battles. Very excited. Nothing like this.
Right.
Nothing like this.
Right. For
so
sure.
I'm amped, man. I'm amped.
So we have done running backs. We've done return specialists. We've done wide receivers. I've got Levi Wallace versus Dane Jackson. I've got Ike Butker versus Forrest Lamp, which I wish John was on the show because he could talk to us probably a little bit about that situation. And then I've got the defensive line. Where do you want to go next?
I kind of want to go offensive line.
Yeah. Offensive line.
You mentioned it earlier. Yeah, you mentioned it earlier, and I'd say that I didn't have it in there, but I guess in a way I probably should have it in there because I'm huge on Spencer Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that he's raw talent, and everybody's like, it's going to take him a while to come around. I don't know, man. This kid, what's up?
Daniel Gower says this year's cuts will be the hardest cuts since the 90s era. Actually, and John can speak to this. That's not true because we knew the guys that were making that football team.
Yeah.
Every year we knew the guys that were making that football team. Everybody else was just camp fodder.
I got a hot take for you.
Yeah.
I think this year we're going to have a cut that's going to cut the fan base. We're going to have a cut this year that we haven't been as a fan base hurt by since Fred Jackson.
It's possible. It's absolutely possible. Who do you think
it is?
Do you have a projection or are you just saying that?
Well, initially I thought it would be Isaiah McKenzie, and he's one of the most loved players, in Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
The only thing I know is there's going to be a lot of guys cut that are going to be starting football players on other football teams. It's going to be very difficult. Yes, as much as not all of us, those of us that are insane Bills Mafia members, comb the cut wire. I'm sure you do. I do too. Looking for those names that jump out at you. I can't believe they cut that guy. There's going to be a lot of them this year. There's going to be a lot of guys cut this year where it's like, holy crap, they cut him. Holy crap, they cut him. Right?
Yep.
Dude, we've totally lost the comment section to John Fina.
Well, right. I'm reading the comments. I'm like, oh, John,
everybody's asking John Fina questions. We should just send him the link and get his ass in here.
Well, no, I did. I texted him and I DM'd him. I'm like, jump in if you're free, and he hasn't responded to me, but he's still in the comments. Like, what are we doing here, John? What's up, man?
Jump in and talk offensive line with us, boss.
We need you right now. Come on, what are you doing?
That's hysterical.
John Fina's the real deal, guys. He's like really one of the dopest guys that have played for the team. I appreciate so when I had him on the show, one of the things that and I know this is like not what we were talking about, but
no,
one of the things that impressed me the most about him, he literally lived in the city, like off of like Ferry, Utica area, Main Street. That's not like that's not like the place that you would think Bills players would live. It's not one of the nicest areas. So I'm telling you,
dum.
Yeah, see, there you go. The power of
he's doing his hair. John Fina is a good looking man and has been his whole life. So he's right now doing his hair.
I feel like he wakes up with his hair just in place. I do. I just feel like he wakes up and he has like the Johnny Bravo. Just it's already done.
Daniel Gowris, would you two keep it down? I'm trying to chat with John Fina.
Well, no, we want to chat with John Fina. Like that's the whole point. We want him to jump on in.
Oh, that's amazing. I think he's on his way. So that's pretty.
Yeah,
funny.
No, he is. So, but so I guess what we'll hold a minute on the offensive line, and I have a few minutes if you want to go in overtime today. Sure. With John, if John jumps in, we could hang out for a while.
Sidebar while we're waiting for John. Easy, he says. Sidebar while we're waiting for John. Thoughts? I know that. So when does daylight savings happen? That it doesn't happen to you, where all of a sudden we've got a problem because we're starting at 4:00 your time, or is it 5:00 even your time? 5:00 your time.
Well, it actually gets. I feel like it gets better for me once daylight savings, because right now it's 3 hours difference, and then it's a 2 hour difference. So
that's worse. Isn't that worse?
No, I feel like it's better because so like for instance at 9 o'clock there is 7 p.m. at that point, whereas right now it's 6. So I have to rush home
for you. I can do 10 o'clock on Wednesdays if we want to move this thing to 10 o'clock as we're discussing this live on air.
Oh, I mean we could do 9. Like but if you want to do 10, I'm cool with that too. But yeah, no, 9 still works for me.
Yeah, for sure. So cool. I'm just making sure. I just want to make sure I can accommodate your schedule. So no worries.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you, man. So look at it. You guys are seeing how Joe and I work behind the scenes live on air. Look at that.
So what were you saying?
I don't know. My dog is trying to jump up in my lap and I got distracted.
It wants a cameo. There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, we just lost your microphone. This time it is not my fault. It's back. It's back now.
Yeah, I promised Brandon Bean that I would name my newest dog at the time after him. So I named him Buddy Bean.
Buddy Bean. Very good. Yeah. Very good. So we are absolutely stalling for.
All right, you got to get out,
Mr. Fina. But that's a pretty dog. That's a pretty dog. So we're gonna move on to offensive line. And the offensive line situation is interesting. Do you think there'll be any surprise cuts on the offensive line as it pertains to the 5 starters that we believe are slated who have never played a down together?
Let me pull the depth chart because let me pull it back up.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen. We have the man, the myth, and the legend himself.
Hey, what's going on? Am I in the studio?
No,
you're in here, man.
You're live, boss. You're live. East Coast Bills backers. Nice.
Let's get it. I love that shirt. I need a link.
Everybody, welcome John Fina to the show. What's up, John Fina? How are you tonight?
Well, hey, I'm doing great. And I feel kind of bad. You guys are on all the time. And, we're friends, the 3 of us. And I always want to join. So I'm like, oh, my God, it popped up in my Twitter feed. And I thought, well, why don't I listen in? And I didn't by any means want to take over your show. I mean, how could I, especially when I was so busy doing my hair and listening to it on the side. Does my hair look okay? I mean, actually, the funny thing is I just got it trimmed. So
we love you, man. we were giving you all the compliments. We think that you just have it, man. Like, I wish I could wake up and look like you.
Agreed.
Can you please talk to my wife, because I just don't know if she buys what you're laying down here, and I might need to do some convincing.
All I know is there's one member of this panel right now that is not pretty, and he's in the top left corner. That's me. The two of you are beautiful men. I'm just gonna throw.
I got work. Say it. I got work to do, Joe. But listen, let's get to the reason why we invited him in. So we feel that this year the team has a deeper roster than we've had in quite a. I mean, it was deep last season, Indeed. But I feel like they again drafted well. Again, they they didn't make bad moves during the offseason. So right now the offensive line is deep, and I feel like this year we may make some cuts, or we may make some moves that are very surprising. Do you see anybody surprisingly making the roster out of the guys that we have, or how do you view the positional battles on that offensive line?
Well, I mean, you look at the draft picks, and the guys that they drafted are specimen type guys, right? And you can say that you're going to stick with them because you think that the upside. You're not going to believe this, but I have to jump off for 1 second. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
He's getting a phone call.
He's getting a phone call.
Getting a work call.
Yeah, no, John is he's a busy guy. So John will be back after his call.
Now that he's got us all on the edge of our seat.
Right. I'm like, okay, I'm ready for it. I'm ready. This is what you get when you come on the Hump Day Hotline. You just get like random cameos, and
we did it with Anthony Marino a couple weeks ago. It was like, Anthony, you're gonna have to jump on the show, bro. It just is what it is. Are you pulling him in? There you go. All right.
We're back.
You may continue.
Yeah, sorry about that. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you guys. You're going to laugh. Everybody out there is going to laugh their head off. But I was actually so invested into listening to your show that I just got out of my car and I'm walking into the house, and I forgot to turn the alarm off. So the alarm company's calling me and saying, "Hey, did somebody break into your house?" And I'm like, "I'm pretty sure it was just me."
It's the 6'5" white Italian guy that's breaking into your house.
Sometimes, we're not all the smartest knife in the drawer, so to speak, but I blame you guys. So, okay, going back to what I was saying, right? I mean, you brought up earlier before I joined the battle for Booker and Lamp. And I think that's a real battle. And again, it's going to be hard to assess. They're going to make some tweaks to the run game. They have to. I don't know why I said offensive run game. The run game. So whatever kind of ads they have, they're going to have to see which guy fits better, which skill set, which tool set these guys have that's gonna be most important to any variations they put into the running game. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. Pass protection, obviously. I mean, we got to protect our franchise quarterback. It's Josh Allen, for God's sakes. I mean, MVP candidate, potential MVP guy this year again. So if you look at where one of them could potentially fail, it's going to be at the pass pro spot. So keep your eyes on that. I don't know what access you're going to have, but keep your eye on one-on-one pass pro and look at that battle between Lamp and Booker. And as I was saying before, the guys in the draft, right? Is that Brown and Doyle? I think
Doyle,
was it Doyle?
Both monsters, both
They're
gigantic men.
monsters.
Gigantic.
And I don't think you take a guy like that with the idea that you're not going to develop him. So if you look across the starting five, so to speak, it's pretty well set, right? I mean, provided that Cody Ford stays healthy, which we all hope he does, because I think that once he gets over these kind of injuries, he's going to be a monster. Huge benefit to that offensive line. So I mean, you guys run the numbers better. Do they keep 8 or do they keep 7 and a guy in the practice squad? Usually it should be 8.
Krasinski can answer, or 9. I mean, could it be 9 this year? Because they're going to keep Ryan Bates, right? They're going to keep Ryan Bates and play every position on the line.
I mean, you're right, but here's the thing: when you have that discussion, and you can't forget about the rest of the roster. We just said the defensive line is deeper than it's been. We just said, or so we hope. The wide receiver position, the room. You have guys that you're probably going to want to keep instead of letting go. Like, you don't want to let. Do you think certain guys will make it to the practice squad if we cut them? So like, these conversations are real. We cut them,
right.
You're gone.
There's also,
I think Doyle goes to the practice squad, but you're also at risk of losing a guy from the practice squad, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there's also that goes along with the original conversation we were having at the top of the show about Cole Beasley and all the protocols for COVID. They also have not told us yet what the practice squad situation is going to look like. Is it going to look like normal practice squad pre-2020, or is it going to be practice squad 2020 where like COVID was in play and like they could keep more guys as far as that goes? So the Bills have always kept 9 since 2017. That's the McDermott era. In 2019 they kept 10. And then Chris Jenke also has a question for you, John. Is there a chance or a world where Butker and Lamp both make this team as backups? Would a team carry 2 backup guards?
I think you'd probably try to figure out if Spencer can play inside and out, rather than try to keep a guy who's a single position player. Tommy Doyle probably goes to the practice squad. You're probably right about Bates. And again, I mean, a lot of this is in training camps different now. It's not as physical. So I think it might be even a little bit more challenging to assess talent and longevity. Just depending on how many physical reps, because part of training camp is pushing your limits. And I just don't know, good, bad, or indifferent, whether training camp still works like that.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not privy to them. I don't go to training camp. I'm stuck here in Tucson drinking my beer.
Well, Spence is down the road.
By the way, I owe you. I still owe you a beer when we can finally get together. But yeah, no, go ahead.
Pinging back to what you guys said earlier about, the roster was set back in the 90s. There are always a couple of surprises every year. But I agree with you, by and large. There are going to be some upset Bills Mafia members. Everybody's got their favorites, and I think a lot of that is due in part to the quality personalities they bring to social media. So, the people in the Bills Mafia gravitate to these guys, and they feel like they're family or, close friend. And something about their Twitter feed or their Instagram, you feel bonded with a guy, and it's hard to say goodbye. And it was hard when I was there, when guys were on the block, and strangely, the position from a player's point of view, I remember my second training camp, and we were in a meeting I said to Howard Ballard, I said, House, who's that kid over there? What's that guy's name? The guy in the film. And he's like, I don't know. That's a rookie. He ain't going to be here. And I just remember thinking, wow, that is so harsh. It's so hard. We're going to say goodbye to so many guys, and some of them really haven't established their personalities and their, gravitas with the Bills Mafia. But in the same token, it is cutthroat and guys are going to be gone. And I think that this year it's going to be incredibly challenging. I mean, like you said, I'm looking at that depth chart with the wide receiver room. You got to be out of your mind. I mean, those are hard decisions to make.
Yep.
Man.
And honestly, I mean, the biggest jump we need is at the tight end position. We just need the steadiness. I don't know who pushes Dawson Knox hard enough. Are we still going to get that guy from Philly? I mean, is he still around? That's the best joke going around in Bills Mafia right now. I love that.
But the thing is, I really think that happens. I just don't subscribe to all of the rumors. I still think that, he absolutely wants out of Philly, and I think the Bills are the best option that they have. But I think the price that they were asking for, the Bills just aren't going to budge, and it's going to get to the point where they're either going to have to cut him or take something. And I think the smart play for them would be to take that 7th round pick that the Bills are offering.
I don't remember who I saw tweet it, but somebody tweeted today that it looks like Ertz is going to be suiting up for Philly this year. But that never means it's true. That was just the last thing that I saw. Chris Schenke also says practice squad rules will be the same this year as last year, 16 players with the COVID rules. So it will be an extended, larger practice squad. And there's been a lot of conversation after last year about the NFLPA and the NFL expanding, like going forward forever, that practice squad, which is only good.
That's awesome. Anybody want to adopt a dog or two?
I've been there, John. I'm a mute you till you get it right, but I've been there. John, so everybody who has dogs knows exactly what John is going through right now. But he's brought up some great points about the line and about the roster. I think he's done because he's talking. Back.
You got an expanded practice squad, right?
Yep.
So that's good news.
Yep.
So you got to look historically. If I'm the general manager, I'm looking backward last year and say, where would we have benefited from having more depth? I mean, you have to, right? Is it at the DB position, right? People go back and forth about my Tucson guy, Levi Wallace, and of course I hope he makes it because he's from my hometown, man.
Right.
So, but you still have to be pragmatic about those decisions. And if there's a guy that's close, you keep him in the event that you think that Trey locks down one side and they keep trying to expose Levi. And sometimes, you just get picked on enough. It messes with your psyche and you need a break. Something comes to pass that, they need somebody else in there. So I think when you look at who stays and who goes, you have to look backwards a little bit.
Mm-hmm. It's good stuff. It's good. It's going to be a battle all the way around. And I mean, I think that the messaging from me, Spence, and you just solidified it. Spence and I have been saying it over a couple of weeks, and you just drove it home today, John, is just that the Mafia needs to be prepared to have their hearts broken because we're going to lose one or two players that we love on this football team. It's going to happen. There's guys that we think are going to make it that just aren't going to make it. And that I want to ask that question. If I'm going to ask a question, and I'm good at, I always have fun questions for you, John, and you always make fun of me for the amount of notes that you have to take to answer my questions. But when you've got a tight locker room, and we hear stories about how tight that 90s Bills team was that you were on, and how tight that locker room was, and this Bills team is very like guys have talked about it, like the sense of family, like we're brothers first before we're even a football team. The NFL is a business. When dudes go, when your best friend gets cut, is there an automatic realization that, yeah, I get it, that guy's better? Or is it hurt? How does cutting guys that you think should be there as a player affect you as a player when it's your buddy?
I think it's you're mourning the loss at a fairly limited length of time, right? Because they get cut and you find out about it in the morning. Now, of course, you find out about it the moment it happens on Twitter, but usually you'd come in the next day and, hey, where's so-and-so? Or there's another locker empty. And you just kind of, damn, I like that guy, man. I think I wish him well. I think he's got a good shot. I would have loved to have kept him here. But you do have to have that pragmatic feeling, okay, he's gone. I still have to put my gear on or still have to get to my meeting on time. And what I've always felt was curious is you get to your position meetings or you go to the offensive meet or the team meeting, and they don't really address it. They don't talk about the guys that are gone. They just talk about what we're doing today and moving forward. Right. And then as soon as you realize it's cut day, then you start kind of looking around the room and saying, okay, which chairs are unoccupied? Because by and large, everybody kind of sits. And
okay.
Long run, I think with Bills Mafia, if the Bills get back deep into the playoffs again, get to the AFC Championship game, win it or lose it, go to the Super Bowl, win it or lose it. There's still going to be people who say, well, if they had kept my guy, that would have been the difference maker. And it's really not true. Right. The guys that they're going to keep, they deem better, or maybe they deem a better fit, which is a different thing. This guy might be a great player, but within the type of defense that you run, with the type of coverages that you run, you don't have a place for him at that position. So you got to let him go. They're hard decisions to make. I mean, this whole roster is hard decisions. I mean, this training camp, the depth now with defensive line, linebacker, I still don't know, and you guys can convince me, did we help ourselves enough at the cornerback position or not?
Well, that's on my list. I actually don't want to go there next. So we'll wrap up with one more position group because it's going to be a fun conversation between Wallace, your guy Wallace, the Tucson guy, and Dane Jackson. But to me, the biggest muddled group is that defensive line. The defensive line to me looks like the wide receiver group. There's guys on that defensive line that it's like he's going to go someplace and start at defensive end. I mean, you've obviously got Ed Oliver's going to play. You've got Starlo Tulele is going to make this football team. There's guys on this team that are a question mark. Harrison Phillips is a question mark on this football team, which is amazing to me because before he got hurt in that Bengals game 2 years ago in 2019, he was coming on. He was starting to take form, blew both of his ACLs out in the same one play after the other. And then literally was a kind of a shell of himself last year. But even there, when you look at the depth of that defensive line, Obata, Boogie, Groot, there's a chance Mario Addison doesn't make this football team because they want to protect their number 1 and 2 picks.
Yeah, it's deep. I mean, that is probably the deepest defensive line group that I've seen with an exceptional amount of talent in a long time. Those are really hard decisions. I mean, there's no question, though, that Boogie Basham has a freaking motor. I remember, on draft night when they picked him and they showed some of those highlights, I had the strangest sensation. Wait a minute, I've seen that play before. And just having randomly watched some, I don't even remember what school he's from, SEC school or ACC. I just remember this guy on the field just destroying people, just having a motor just to never stop. So I think there's no way in hell that he doesn't end up in the top 6. I mean, he's not a practice squad guy, in my opinion.
What's funny about the situation, when you look at this depth chart, left defensive end, Jerry Hughes, Boogie Basham, F.A. Obata, which we're all excited about F.A. He had a good year in Carolina, and I'm excited about the potential. The 4th guy is Daryl Johnson, who's a special teamer, a vital special teamer for this football team. At defensive tackle, Vernon Butler, Star Latulele. They've got Latulele 2nd, but he's going to be 1st. Justin Zimmer is 3rd. Justin Zimmer won that Patriots game for us.
Right. We talked about that.
Yeah, right defensive tackle.
But
Oliver. Go ahead.
But I look at Zimmer being more on the bubble than Phillips. I think Harrison makes this roster.
Well, yeah, that's right defensive tackle. Ed Oliver.
The injury question, though, that's real.
Right.
And we're not privy to that.
Right. And then right defensive end, Mario Addison, Greg Rousseau, AJ Epinesa. There's a chance that if Greg Rousseau, and I met him this past weekend, he is an enormous human. And you've obviously stood next to Bruce Smith and played against Bruce Smith. Bruce Smith, for me, when I was, I worked at Tops on McKinley when I was in college, and Bruce Smith would come in, Marv Levy would come in. You guys all used to come in to the McKinley, the Tops right there, McKinley. Bruce Smith's butt was at the bottom of my chest, the bottom of my pectorals. Greg Rousseau's bigger. I've never that dude is, and he's wide. He's just, an enormous human being. There's a chance when you look at that depth chart that Mario Edison doesn't make this roster, which is borderline insane to me. Like, it's not that he's a fan favorite, but he's a good player.
Yeah, but you look at Epinesa, he's your second round pick, from the year before.
Right.
Basham, Groot, so to speak.
Yep.
And I think that is a huge battle. I think Addison's got his hands full. I mean,
Right.
he had better shine. I think you're right. I think oddly, penciled in right now, he's in the starting 4. And look, you could argue 6 ways to Sunday that he's got more experience, that he might be more reliable, and he's got more tools at the ready than the guys behind him. But at some point, you have to say, I have to put my second round pick on the field. I have to get my later round pick, who we believe in deeply, opportunities to get on the field. And that's just the evolution of your roster. But I think the most alarming thing about the comment that you made, Mr. Miller, was something about you having pectorals, which frankly, Spence, I don't know, man. Those are some anemic chicken breasts right there. Jeez.
Here we go. Oh.
So do you guys hear what I'm saying? I mean, there's also an evolution. There's an age evolution and there's a commitment evolution.
For sure.
To the guys that you have said are on my roster, right? Or that you picked.
Yeah.
It's hard to cut. It's hard to cut a second round pick. It's hard to cut a pick who is. I look at Basham and I think John Randall. I mean,
Right.
so many things about his play. It's
a great
that guy.
It's a great.
I mean, what an incredible player. And if he can be a shade off of what John Randall was, then Katie bar the door. He's going to wear people out. And I think, him rushing right tackles is the place for him.
Yeah.
I think he will wear guys out just physically, not manhandle them. But at the end of the game, the right tackle is going to be, holy crap, that was a lot. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be interesting just to see how this whole thing plays out, and who ends up like the cream that rises to the top. It's going to be wild, and it's going to be exciting. But what's funny to me is listening to you talk about trying to get your second round pick playing time, your first round pick playing time, and blah 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 blah. Is the amount that Bean and McDermott preach that the best guys will play, and the reality is there always is a measure of football politics at play. Right? There's always a measure of football politics at play. Like, we invested in this guy. We've got to see what we've got. Yeah.
Well, look, the nice thing is we have an offense that performed incredibly last year.
Yeah.
So if you foresee a 10 or 12 win season on the horizon and assume that 3 or 4 of those you're leading by 14 to 17 points in the fourth quarter, then you set the young guys loose and you have them on the sideline. You say, look, we're not padding this victory insofar as you're going out there to lay down. This is your opportunity. You wear those guys out. And I don't have a doubt that they would. I look at especially Boogie's work ethic, and I think that he's kind of like a chained animal. Cut him loose. Rousseau, just from what I saw, I think he's got an incredible upside. I mean, they're going to work on him on probably his pad level. The one thing that made Bruce so good was, and it's hard to explain, you have to see it and feel it to appreciate the wonderment of it, is his lower body would be going in one direction while his upper body was twisting and going in the opposite direction. So it was this incredible ability of him to just use a leverage point that somebody else couldn't utilize because their bodies just didn't do what his did.
Right.
So, hopefully he develops his special move or his special abilities. And, again, that's training camp to me. And the crucible of training camp, I don't know what it looks like now, but my first 3 years in Buffalo, even though ours was laughably easy, comparatively speaking, we got after it. And I took my lumps. And those were the moments that, kind of formed how I was going to play. And look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm a Hall of Famer or I was the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I battled, and I always battled. And I learned that from training camp, from Darryl Talley, from Bruce Smith, from Cornelius Bennett. And, if they can get that sort of opportunity because this roster is so deep to put guys in a position and make them feel the pressure that it's not a cakewalk and it's, kumbaya moment, then it should be an exciting training camp.
Yeah,
hearts will be broken.
Not to interrupt you there, but honestly, I know you're saying like, well, I'm not a Hall of Famer, and I'm okay. You didn't make the Hall of Fame, but dude, when I watched games from when you were playing, you're everywhere, like everywhere, like seriously. And I don't know if you remember, like when the summer first started, it was like, okay, everybody, it was a point, actually Bills Mafia was like arguing back then, but it was like a moment there where everybody was like kind of at each other's necks on Twitter. So I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna post a video a day. So I started posting videos from the 90s, and like there was a play that I posted where like Jim threw the ball, I don't even know who caught it and where it was, but it was like 60 yards away from where you started, and you went and like pancaked somebody who was trying to tackle the receiver. And it's like, how the hell did John make it down the field? You're everywhere, man. You're everywhere.
I was very fast. No longer, but I was that, comparatively speaking. No, so I appreciate that. And, I look back on my career. Everybody does. Everybody has a day they regret, a moment they regret, and we all do. And, there are people out there who hate me and people who love me. And frankly, the only people inside this building are the only ones that really care about, in addition to you guys. So it's fostering the competitive nature at the position groups, whether it's implied or spoken. But, Lamp and Boetker and, Addison and Epinesa, they're going to be friends in the meeting room. They're going to get along fine, but they need to understand, and I'm sure they all do, and the coaches, if they don't see it, will push them that, you need to show what you got. I mean, there were a couple training camps where they brought somebody in to try to take my job because they wanted to push me to get better. That's just how it goes.
Right, just how it works. And as it pertains to just, showing the team what you've got, I'm going to do my best to show Bills Mafia in the comments section what John Fina has as I throw up this picture.
Oh, snaps.
John Fina carrying the football.
So I had
a
a few carries in my career. That was not a handoff. That I picked up a fumble off the ground, and I was making my way toward the closed end of the stadium down the team sideline. You can remember some things just perfectly in your mind. I picked up a few yards, but I promise you this: those defensive backs can hit, and they don't care how big you are. And I took a couple of shots when I touched the ball, and I'd always say to myself, man, I'm never touching that ball again until the next time. But you pay for it. That's
did
for
you
sure.
have any? Did you score at all in your career?
I just had the one touchdown against Indianapolis my rookie year. But it's still a moment, man. I still cherish the moment.
Oh yeah.
Let me ask you this before, because I know we are going to be wrapping up in a little bit here, but let me ask you this: because we're talking about cut down day and all this stuff, or like who's going to make the roster, what positional battles and all that. In your time, for you, so it's a two-part question. A, what was the most surprising cut that you were on the team to experience? And then B, what was, we kind of already touched on like how it feels as a player to lose your friend on the roster or something, but what was for you, which one hit home the hardest?
Well, I'm not going to be a popular guy with this one. A guy that the fans, loved to hate, but the players knew the value, was Glenn Parker.
Oh yeah.
And, I just remember there were so few media outlets, and there were personalities that would find a guy that they would want to, for lack of a better term, just come after every day.
Still happens.
And yes, I guess it still happens. And Glenn happened to be that guy. And the sad thing is, he was a 4-position player, and he got the job done. There isn't a smarter player I ever played against or played with. And, having played with him at Arizona, and Glenn and I are friends, we weren't thick as thieves all the time, but I have the deepest respect for Glenn and his play, and we are friends to this day. He lives here in Tucson with me, but that was a head scratcher, and that was one of those. Well, I guess there's going to be some sort of somebody thrown to the wolves to capitulate to somebody here and there, but Glenn played every position on the offensive line except center, and then what happens? He leaves. He goes to Kansas City, and then finishes his career with the Giants. The guy I played 11. I think Glenn played 12, if not 13. Wow. And I think only 6 of them were in Buffalo. Maybe it was 5. And I was a little surprised at that one. There are guys come and go all the time. But what you said earlier, Spence, and what you're saying, Joe, is, the thinnest of issues separate a guy that stays and goes.
Right.
And, sometimes those issues we don't even know about. It could be salary issue. It could be personality. It could be fit. It could be, anything. You can't rule out any sort of, I don't want to say vendetta, but preference. If a guy's coachable more than another guy, he's likely to stay because they see he can develop. And this is going to be a tough one. I mean, there is just a freaking slew of good football players on this roster.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
John Herring says that he's not that far from Cali. Come on down. He'll buy you a beer. John will probably take you up on that.
Man, wait a minute. First of all, John and I are not even an hour apart. If all I know is I better get my damn beer before. You said 2. Okay. Well, all I know is it's closer than Cali. Me and John need to get up soon. And now that COVID is kind of, we got to do this. Yeah,
you're up there in Anthem. I might be making my way up there sometime in August for work on my way to Flag. We'll see if we can put something together. But, one thing that I thought would be really cool that I think the Bills should consider is there's so many strong chapters of the Bills Mafia around the country. If they can get players kind of sponsored to show up to some of those group functions, just get them there somehow and then create fundraisers out of it. I know that, to me, despite the loss to the Cardinals, I had an incredible time with the Colorado group. They were outstanding. Yeah. And, anybody who's on the line who thinks that they're better than Colorado, cool. I hope so, man. God love you. It's just a great group. I'll address, if we got another minute.
Yeah.
I looked at that. I looked at that, issue with Cody Ford on Twitter, and I read it. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, every now and again, I'll read every damn comment. I'm kind of a lurker. I don't post a lot.
Yes, you are.
But sometimes I just read and digest, and I read every comment, right? And I just think that when it comes to being a fan, the internet and anonymity has just obliterated the rules of engagement. So I stand by Cody Ford, and I'm disappointed, like the poster was about Cody Ford and that behavior. You can have your opinion. I think tagging him is below average, and I see it from the player's perspective, such that nobody wants to have an injury. Nobody wants to have their potentially amazing career derailed, by no fault of your own. I never chose to get hurt. I never chose to be in those situations where I couldn't come out and play. And we're competing out in the public, and we're scrutinized in a way that sort of diminishes the love we have for the game, the commitment we have to the game, the players, the community. So, not necessarily an admonishment to the Twitter poster, but just keep in mind that everybody has feelings. And I think, it'd be nice. I went back to his thread, and I saw that he did post and apologize. And, to me, I thought, take a deep breath. Don't tag a guy. You can have your opinion, but I think that's kind of an outward. In the old days, Spence, Joe, you'd take that guy out to the schoolyard and you'd sort it out there, right?
No, he
is-
wouldn't, because I guarantee you Cody Ford is twice his size. There would
Yeah,
be no
Charles Barkley said it best, right? He's like, anonymity on the internet has made us tougher than we are, right?
Right,
Come on,
Well,
right.
nobody's going to show up and
everybody's talking about Twitter fingers, and we continue to prove it over and over again that we have the courage to address players or people online because we're not face to face with them. I guarantee you, there aren't many guys that's just going to address Cody Ford like that. Like, there's players in the league who won't address Cody Ford like that. So we got to relax. I do want to. You were talking a moment though before, and I know Joe he wanted to skate past it because he didn't want to bring it up, but. The Dane Jackson and the Wallace conversation. Do we really think that's an actual battle?
I think it's always a battle. I think that if Levi thinks it's not a battle, then it's Dane Jackson's position to win.
Oof, that's good.
Okay.
That's the surprise of training camp, and that's the surprise of a depth chart that looks like this, is if anybody's walking in thinking they're a made guy, be aware. The bullets are flying, man. The bullets are flying. And every year you have to come in and own your position. And even though you look back on the 90s and say, oh, well, we pretty much know who's going to make the team, I think the level of talent from high school, college, and the pros now is greater across the board, at every position and in greater depth. But Cornelius and Daryl and Bruce brought it every damn play. I thought, Jesus, these guys made the team. What are they taking? Why are they taking it all out on me, for God's sakes? So that turns it into a real battle. And Dane, of course, he wants to establish himself in his training camp performance as a reliable guy to just go in, right? Whether he doesn't usurp him or not, he needs to have that staff know that, wow, we have 3 starters. We don't have 2 and a guy. We got 3 guys.
Good. That's about as solid as the take as you're going to get, Spence.
Yeah, no, I wasn't asking him to say who wins or not, because I guess the way I see it, I agree. Like, you got to come in and you got to play, because if you come in and you crap the bed, it's over, regardless of who you are. I think the only person that's like protected completely and fully on this roster is Josh. Like, if he has a bad camp, it's like, okay, Josh, we got to figure out what the heck is going on. But at least he earned another year just to, like, he can make some mistakes.
Well, yeah, for sure he's a lock, but there's a gaggle of guys after that. You're not, Tre'Davious White's not going anywhere. Tremaine Edwards isn't, they're not going anywhere. Yeah, Diggs isn't, you're right. But, and again, I mean, it's kind of funny. You have to have a training camp to get into physical shape, mental shape, emotional shape for, arduous season ahead of you. But the cut side of that is guys pull hammies, guys sprain ankles, just by happenstance.
Yep.
Yeah,
and what you can't eliminate training camp. You can't eliminate that competition because you think you have the guy, and then they're not ready, in those 3 categories for a 17-game season either. So I've heard arguments training camp should go away. Well, then where's the crucible? And then every guy that's a third trying to be a second is gonna be like, what are you talking about? How the hell do I break in?
Right. Yeah, I think what's interesting, the difference between the time that you played, at least from the stories we've been told, and even my conversation with Isaiah Hodgins on Sunday, and we talked about him and we talked about Josh as well. Like, back when you played, guys took the offseason off. They took it off. And then you guys, and training camp was literally to get everybody back into football playing shape. And I had asked Isaiah just about, what it's like we went to Mexico for a wedding, and then we had a little bit of time, and then I was back here, I was back there, I was doing this, and then I was doing, and then we had OTAs, and then I took another week off. And Josh is the same way. Josh, like OTAs, mini camp, has like a week off, then ends up with Jordan Palmer in July. And July is the death month for the NFL, like when nothing's happening. But Josh is out there throwing the ball with Jordan Palmer, trying to get better. It's such a stark contrast from when you played and they played. And I would agree with you 100%. Literally, training camp goes away, and it turns into a situation where like those long shots don't have a chance to make never find those diamonds in the rough. They're just gone.
Yeah, and I think it lends itself to a poor quality of play for the first couple games at the very least. Now, you know, we didn't go home in the off season in the 90s and sit on our ass. I mean, I was in the weight room as was every guy, I imagine. I didn't check on him, but you know, I was in the weight room 4 days a week, and you know, I have my training card. I'm out there on the field simulating drives and, you know, continuing to, you know, first of all, spend the first couple months just kind of like letting your body detox and relax, you know, just kind of getting back to a state where you can start building up again.
Right.
But yeah, and I think that might be a little bit where the collective bargaining agreement got it wrong. You know, I guess the OTAs are the solution to it all, but it's just nice. Like I remember going back for mini camp, and it was awesome to see the guys, and it was no pads, and you got to run around, and you know, maybe you know, I don't know. I think back in those days there probably could have been 2 or 3 of them. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being around the guys.
Yeah, for sure. And then the guys were talking. I remember it was Tasker. Tasker was on One Bills Live today talking about that. That like right around March, you start getting the itch that you want to see the guys again. I need to see the guys.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, Tasker was talking
for
about
sure.
That, so do we want to wrap this thing up? It's we've been on for an hour and a half. It's what 10:30 here my time. What is it? 7:30 your guys' time? Yeah, Spence probably hasn't eaten dinner. John probably hasn't eaten dinner yet.
We both just got home. He had to turn his alarm off, so yeah, I can tell he has to.
I had my dinner,
liquid dinner.
John, I do want to bring up one more thing. I'm sorry before we get off, because John was talking about the Bills backers bars. Yeah. So I mean, I this isn't like an announcement because it's like plans being made, but not this season. But my plan is to I want to take the code of conduct on the road next season. And instead of coming home for Bills games or even getting season tickets here in Arizona, what I want to do is I actually want to visit a Bills backers bar every single Sunday. So I'm figuring out the logistics and all that stuff for it now, but that's honestly a plan because I agree with you. I've been to a couple, and man, they party everywhere around the country. Bills Mafia is real. So I thank you for bringing that up. I need to get in touch with some other backers bars to figure out how things are going to be, but that's an actual goal for me for the 2022 season.
Well, you know, they have a list on BuffaloBills.com.
Yep.
And I think some of them, though, you know, I reached out to a couple. I think there are 4 listed in Vegas. And, you know, I ended up going to one of the bars kind of during the COVID kind of deal. And it was sort of impromptu. So you got to do your research, right? You got to make sure you choose the right one. And who knows? I mean, you know, maybe it's you and me at the Phoenix one. I was at the San Diego one about a month ago. I know there's one in LA, and Denver's great. I mean, stay local in the beginning, but make sure you get to the right club. Make sure, you know, they know, you know, that they can execute on your plan.
Gotcha. Well, for the one here, I'll make sure I hit you up for that one. We'll make that happen this year.
Yeah, there's like 3 in Phoenix, right?
Mm-hmm. There's a ton, but I'll come to you. I don't mind coming up there.
Yeah, I you know, what's interesting is I love the people at the Tucson Bills backers, right? But they have the worst venue. So I went to opening game once, I think it was 3 years ago, and it was awful. Actually, I say it like this. Well, the food was expensive. The service was terrible. The food was awful, but at least it was expensive. I mean, and they had us like in a hallway with 2 really poorly placed television sets. And I was like, I love you people. I will never come back as long as you're here and in this space.
Ladies and gentlemen,
we'll talk about that and make that happen. But go ahead. No, I was just saying we'll talk about that and make that happen because that's actually really in my plans for the next season.
I'd love to do it too. I was expecting to. I went to Kansas City to visit one of my best friends who lives in Kansas City. I went to college in Kansas City or in Missouri. and had intentions to go to the Kansas City Bills backers bar, and then got wired into some other dinner with him before I caught the plane, so I didn't get a chance to. But yeah, I agree with you, Spence. That's a fantastic idea. That'd be a lot of fun. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Rumblings Multicast Network. My name is Joe Miller. For my co-host Jay Spence, the King, it's great to have you. And we want a special thanks to John Fina, former Buffalo Bills player John Fina, for jumping in on the show and helping us go through the position challenges. John, tell everybody where they can find you.
I have no idea. I have no idea where I am half the time. I think I'm on the Twitter box. I don't know if it's at John Fina or at John Fina 70. I really have no idea.
It's at John Fina.
I think I'm on Instagram, though I never open it. I never post, mostly because I don't know how. And I am on Facebook, and I am a proud member of the East Coast Bills backers, the Bills Mafia Babes, the Bills Mafia of Spain, the Bills Mafia of Italy. Translationally, those are challenging posts to read, but I do enjoy the Bills Mafia. I feel not bad about jumping in on your show, guys. It wasn't my intent. I want to listen to you.
That was awesome.
And for all the people that are, yeah, hey, it's good. It's good to join you guys. You know, I mean, I'm a relationship guy, and I just found that getting to know you two has been a great pleasure. And joining the Bills Mafia and being a kind of awake and alive to it on Twitter, it's been a lot of fun. Yeah. By and large, tons of fun. There's always the occasional outlier, but hell, that's life, right? So, fellas, thanks a lot. Thanks for letting me crash your party and hang out with you on your show.
Anytime.
And hey, you mentioned the Bills Mafia Babes. Kristen's in the building. She was like really excited when you jumped on. So
yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. The Kimmick, I'm following her all the time. She keeps, and people keep changing their handles and stuff like that. I have no idea how to do it. So like my bio is just like super simple. It doesn't say anything. I'm like, where do people find the time for this? But you know, it's one last closing thought. You know, I noticed today, yesterday, the day before, there's a lot of the Bills Mafia babes who are kind of angry that they get tested by men, like, oh, you're a fan of football, and then they get sort of a quiz, right? Who's your favorite player, or some BS like that. Mm-hmm. And I just have to say to all the babes out there, just remember, man, a man's brain is like this big. You know, historically, we're not that evolved. Just chalk it up to he's a guy. Don't worry about it. Yeah. They don't really mean anything by it, but maybe they just don't know how to react.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Just ignore them. Just ignore them.
There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you get ready and tune in for the Off Tackle with John Fina show coming back this football season. So here in a couple weeks, John and I will be back rapping about football, about the Buffalo Bills. Also next week, Spence, do you want to do that back-to-back positional, like offensive defensive roster breakdown thing? Like I said, Sunday night, Monday night. Yeah.
If you want to go for a Sunday, Monday, let's do it.
So last year, Spence and I did roster predictions in a 2-part pod. We're going to do it again next week. Sunday night on the Overreaction Show, we'll do the offense and then the defense on Spence's pod on Monday. But Joe Miller, Jay Spence the King, John Fina, thanks for being a part of the show. Everybody's awesome. Thanks for the people in the comments. Go Bills.
Yeah, this was jumping tonight. Thank you guys. Go Bills.
Go Bills. Bills Mafia, baby.
Talk to you guys later.